Hey everybody, I'm Nick Layton.
And I'm Leah Bottima.
And we're the hosts of Were You Raised by Wolves?
Each week we try to make the world a kinder, nicer place.
Well, that's the idea, at least.
I mean, we try.
Have you ever wondered what to do if you're ghosted?
Or what to do when a friend asks you to borrow money?
Or the proper way to eat Cheetos?
You know, the big questions.
So please find Were You Raised by Wolves wherever you listen.
You're listening to Heritage Radio Network.
Alright, I am here at Elwood with Chef Diltz. Hey Adam.
Hi there, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we're this is a unique interview for me because I'm sitting in front of some amazing looking food. So Adam, we're at Elwood, which is just kind of south of Frankfurt in Fishtown, in an old townhouse, right?
It's on Frankfurt.
On Frankfurt.
Yeah. It was literally a house.
Yeah.
Literally. And my wife, an architect, she did all the work before we converting it.
How long have you been here?
Actually, we just celebrated our 5-year anniversary, May 1st. 2019 is when I opened.
Okay.
Minus COVID.
Minus COVID, yeah. So one of the reasons I want to talk to you is that this cuisine that you're cooking is pretty different from anything that I've seen in Philly or around here. Like keeping the kind of Pennsylvania Dutch cuisine, reinvigorating it, I think is how you put it, or rediscovering it. What made you want to do that as opposed to like going the, I don't know, New American route or something that like that?
I do in a way do some sort of tweezer chef style, like my catfish and waffles interpretation would be that sort of thing. But in reality, I don't. Well, I grew up eating. I mean, my comfort food is pork and sauerkraut and chicken and waffles, and my family made scrapple, shoe fly. So Pennsylvania Dutch stuff. You don't think of Pennsylvania Dutch as being from Northeastern, but for some reason my family settled up there. But that's what I grew up with. That's what my comfort food is. And I always wanted a restaurant that, I was always interested in American regional food. Mm-hmm. Even in high school, I was reading James Beard. And then I always wanted a restaurant that had a Pennsylvanian restaurant, but like fine dining, but with things you'd see in the Mid-Atlantic region. I mean, lines are just borders on a map, so, more so Mid-Atlantic, Mid-Atlantic foodways. And so that means a lot about Pennsylvania Dutch stuff because people don't really know it, understand it. And other things would be, because I'm in Philly, is Philly history, some of those things, growing up, hunting culture is big, and then if you look at the old classic Escoffier and they have all sorts of game meats and stuff. So
yeah, I mean, I feel like for me, and I'm not an expert, but I feel like regional cuisine, like if you think Mid-Atlantic, you go to Maryland crabs or something.
Well, Maryland crab. That's a great. I mean, that is a quintessential foodway of the Mid-Atlantic region. Absolutely.
But this, I feel like this is a hidden kind of cuisine in a way. Pennsylvania Dutch, especially the stuff that you're interpreting.
Well, Pennsylvania Dutch, it sort of fell out. I mean, it fell out of flavor, or favor. I mean, for a lot of reasons, it's considered boring or plain. The plain that gets called a lot. But I mean, people need to think if you're back on the farm and you have green beans growing, you're just going to cook them up in butter.
Yeah.
If you have a nice chicken that you just for your Sunday roast, you're just going to roast it up, something like that.
Yeah.
And then sort of, the big smorgasbord thing, out in Lancaster, which is cool, but, it also, it's hard to run those nowadays, you know what I mean? So it's like I think industrialization in general, you know what I mean, is sort of put everything so if if you used to have green beans straight from the garden or straight from the farm,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're just opening canned green bean, it doesn't translate anymore.
Yeah.
So it sort of fell out of favor, but yeah. I mean, going to my great grandmother's house, she always had a big spread, so that's what my like family style meals are based on, plus the PA Dutch eating house type thing.
Yeah. When people come here for the first time who have no idea what they're in for, like what are you looking for them to come away with? Like if they come here and they've heard of the restaurant, but they're not necessarily, they don't know what to expect food wise.
Sure. Well, I mean, there's nothing esoteric. I mean, you're not going to get avant-garde. I mean, the menu, especially in the beginning, the menu was, I had turtle soup, I had a frog dish, I had catfish and waffles, which seems that it's unusual, but it's really not. I mean, especially those type of things were eaten in Philly, in this region, 200 years ago. Not just eaten, but they were loved. They were prized, So it's like that. And then as for the Pennsylvania Dutch stuff, you're going to be, I mean, it's the opposite of a tasting menu, but I mean, nobody leaves here hungry. That's for sure.
Yeah. Do people comment after the meal that they have like? I just feel like after eating this food that I'm looking at now, you probably will be more familiar with it than maybe you thought. You know what I mean? Like
yeah. Well, they don't know what to expect because it's like it says family style on it. It says it comes with all this stuff, so they don't know really what to expect. But once they get it, they understand. Because the accompaniments are like some sauces, depending on what it is. The sauces and apple butter is on the side and pickle. There's some pickles, sauerkraut. Yeah. Because I love my sauerkraut. Yeah. So that sort of thing.
What made you do family style as opposed to like a more itemized menu?
I think because I think the concept of like Korean barbecue, for instance. You go in with your friends or your family and you sit around. I mean, I think it's fun. I think it's more interesting, So that's why I think it's just more interesting to do that, or just like going to grandma's on, whatever Sunday after church or whatever,
Yeah. I feel like we're kind of out of that. We're not as used to that as Americans. You know what I mean? We have our own like plates and our own dishes and
the TV dinner. Yeah, they used to say that back in the back when the TV dinners came out. Everybody just sits around and eats their Salisbury steak and watches TV and you know what I mean. They used to say that, and it's in a way it's gotten worse, I guess. With cell phones and stuff. Yeah.
How did you? So COVID happened a year after you opened. How did you make it through that? Because that's a really. There's so many people I know who started businesses in 2019.
I closed. I lost less money closing than I would trying to stand here and be open and sell to go catfish and waffles. You know, but we own the property. That's why. That's why. Because we own it.
What did you do during COVID? I mean, were you just cooking at home? Were you just dying to get back to like making food, or did you appreciate the time off?
No. You can't appreciate time off. I just opened a restaurant. It was my entire culmination of my life, and every day I don't know if we're gonna have to call it quit. You know what I'm saying? Like it was too much anxiety to, you know what I mean? And plus it changes every day. The things were changing with the city, so. But I cooked at home a lot. I went back home, Northeastern PA, for hunting season, But, it sucked for sure. But I made it,
Yeah, you made it through, and now you're back. And so, tell us a little bit just about how the restaurant is running now, just in terms of like you're open Thursday through Sunday.
Thursday through Sunday, yeah. I dinner Thursday through Sunday. Typical. It's a BYOB Philly. I guess if you're not in Philly, I guess, but it's a typical Philly BYOB. I could open Wednesday. It's just more work for me. There's always something to do. It's not like I'm not doing something on the days off anyway. But I do a tea service also. A tea service that has like inflections of like Pennsylvania, snickerdoodle on there and shoe fly, just like my great grand. But so that's in the morning, Saturday and Sunday.
Nice. So how do we approach this family style meal? So we got a lot of stuff in front of us.
Yeah. Well, let's start here with this. Now, this is the real dish of Philadelphia.
Okay.
not cheesesteaks. This is turtle soup.
The real dish of Philly.
Real dish. Now, this one on my menu, I call it Kensington Snapper Soup.
Okay.
Now, the reason being, this is Kensington. This area we're in, right? Fishtown is Kensington.
Mm-hmm.
It was Kensington. Still is, really, but... And this recipe that I have from this women's group back in 1910, 11, came out with this Memorial Hall cookbook, and in it they call this Kensington Snapper Soup.
Okay.
It fits all around. Now, turtle soup it was really about those spices.
Okay.
You know, it was really about saying you could eat those, being rich and eating those spices.
Uh-huh.
It was saying you ate those spices, you know. But they would have big, it used to be the green sea turtle, which is huge, as big as this table.
Uh-huh.
And then when they ate all those, it was Maryland terrapin.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they ate all those, it moved to the snapping turtle, which is what this is now.
Wow.
And then it sort of fell out of favor. But it was a huge thing. It was such a huge thing. Fake, mock turtle soup is its own thing. But a classic accompaniment to it will be hard-boiled egg.
Okay.
You crumble that in there. And then I'm sure you've heard of putting sherry, or you're down in Maryland, right? So you know sherry and a crab.
Yeah, yeah.
But this is pepper sherry.
Okay.
So this is like the sriracha of the 1800s.
Okay.
People would splash this over everything. It's habaneros and Madeira, but it's awesome.
Oh, wow.
It's
Go ahead.
spicy stuff, but I was just going to show you. If you like spice, then there you go. But but they used to splash that on all sorts of stuff.
So you're a little bit of this. So there is Madeira, jalapeno, and
Habaneros, yeah.
Habanero.
Now you could really spice it up too. Dr. Weaver has his. Brofield Book of Pickling has his with allspice and peppercorns, but that's in the soup, so I don't. And plus, the main demographic who wants this doesn't like it too spicy.
Yeah, but that has a kick though. It's good.
Yeah. But like I said, there's two main flavor components in this. Number one is those spices. Number two is that brown roux.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So you make this every day? You make turtle soup daily?
Well, we just put it back on the menu, but no, we make it a week. You know, the season 4 turtles just started again, so they're trapped snapping turtles, and so.
Is it hard to get these things that are on the menu? Because I don't see them on menus very much.
Sometimes, they have people who trap them and then they freeze them. The big seafood company around here, Samuel's. There's people that trap them. They buy it off of, and then they keep them frozen. But there's still some people that do it. I know the Union League does it. Mm-hmm. Oyster House used to do it.
It's
I don't know if they still do. But.
Really delicious and not at all what I expect. I think that's the first time I've ever eaten turtle.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it is definitely
it's
a fishy thing, but it really is drowned out by the spice and that brown roux.
Yeah. Yeah, and the Madeira habanero sherry. That's
awesome, right?
That's really good.
It's just a cool flavor.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to bring back.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's lots of easier ways to make money than the Lost Foods of Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of like what I was you mentioned Lost Foods. I do feel like that's kind of what you're doing. And do you feel like you're on a crusade to bring back things that people forgot?
I'm trying. Yeah, I think it's interesting. I don't know why. Turtle soup. This here would be a big event. If you had bought a big green sea turtle, you put an ad in the paper. Turtle. Well, they call them turtle frolics down in the south, the southern cities. Turtle frolic. And then you pay whatever amount, and then you get your bring a bowl, and they dish out some turtle soup, and it was a big thing.
It was a big deal.
They used to sell turtles on the streets of. The big market. The Market Street was a gigantic market where you could get anything in the world, and they'd have turtles in cages feeding them lettuce.
Crazy.
It's cool, yeah.
That's crazy. That was delicious. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Of course.
And I should say, if people listening, Adam prepared an entire huge meal here, which I do.
Well, not that big, but
it's pretty big. So then So I'm and I'll post pictures along with this. So this is I didn't know what this was when I sat down.
Well, this is catfish and waffles. So, well, this is my little plated style. But so catfish and waffles was another big dish in Philly. Mm-hmm. So if you visited Philly from D.C. or New York City back in the 1800s through 1850s through 1900s, you had to have the catfish and waffles. I mean, people would go up and down they would be in steamships going up to Schuylkill, stopping at all these little pubs, inns, having catfish and waffles. Now, it could mean just a dish, or it could mean a whole meal, where you get salad, soup, salad, dessert, catfish and waffles, steak, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, it was a huge thing. And if you came to Philly, you had to try the catfish and waffles. Now, they would make, basically, it's now this recipe here, this sauce is straight from a recipe from then.
Okay.
But they would make the sauce, chop up the catfish and throw it in there.
Okay.
And put it over a waffle.
Okay.
And sort of, well, Dr. Weaver says that's the, where it became the precursor to, the modern, Pennsylvania Dutch chicken and waffles means a waffle with chicken gravy, and that's like one of the precursors to that.
Yep. And
so, but really what it is, if you think about it, it's a bechamel, that's a bechamel sauce, so it's cream chip beef.
Yeah. Right.
That's what it is.
Right.
It's cream chip beef over...
Yeah.
that's over toast, how you would eat it at a diner, but this is over a waffle, so it's catfish. But this is a big thing. And it's different now because in the spring and summer, especially the spring, is when they said the catfish was sweeter. But, people don't even want to eat these heavier bechamel, you know what I mean? People don't want to eat that now. So it's a totally different flavor profile nowadays than what...
Than it was back in the day.
Yeah. And then this restaurant, Kugler's, was known for their crisp waffles. So I make this with cornmeal and flour, but wafer style, like a pizza iron.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
How do you?
And I smoke this catfish. I brine it and smoke it, so it's not. And that's not how they would do it, but.
How do you eat it? Just take a little bit of everything. Is that?
Yeah. That's how I like to do it.
Okay. And what's in the small?
And now
bowl?
this on the side is pepper hash. This is another Philly thing.
Okay.
Actually, the Philly hot dog, which would be fish cakes on a hot dog with pepper hash. Mm-hmm. It survives still to this day, but it's 99% cabbage and chili. Hot spicy chilies.
Is it pretty spicy?
Vinegar.
Is this pretty spicy?
This one is okay. That's the habanero, but it's not that spicy. But that's what they would have instead of lemon. When they couldn't get lemons, because the lemons are hard to get, they'd have that on the side with their fish.
Wild.
It's cool stuff, right?
Yeah.
And it's
really,
definitely
really
different
good.
nowadays.
Yeah.
It's definitely different nowadays, but...
So that's like a bechamel. There's like caper on top. It's just...
mushrooms, capers. I fry the capers and garnish it with it, but that particular recipe is right in the sauce. But
got it.
like I said, this is my little...
Yeah. You'll take on it.
Yeah.
So when you come here for a meal, is this part of the family style, or is this like a separate...
This is an appetizer.
Appetizer, yeah.
This is in the appetizer. The appetizer changed.
Yeah.
That's not on the menu now, because that's just for you to try.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, people listening.
But now I do... My most popular one is my pierogi. But now I do a social crab, with the pepper hash and lemon aioli. And the soup, like I said, we just started running it again, the turtle soup. People ask for that all the time. I got people calling from California asking if I'll ship them turtle soup.
Really?
I think this big restaurant, Bookbinders, I don't think it's there anymore, but Bookbinders used to can their turtle soup and sell it all over. People still want it. But, so I get people asking me.
So that's delicious. And so that's a smoked catfish that you do.
The catfish I brine
do
it and
yourself.
smoke it, yeah.
With pierogies on the menu, I have like Polish heritage. Is that a Pennsylvania Dutch thing, or I guess it's all kind of melded like?
No, that well, the turtle soup is a Philly thing, not a Pennsylvania Dutch thing.
Yep.
And the pierogi is more of Port Richmond is right there. A big Polish immigrant is right above us, or Kensington was the working class neighborhood. So
it's sort of an homage to the region broadly?
Yeah, like I said, Mid-Atlantic
Yeah.
is really how I would... Because like you said, crab, I do a cream of crab soup, too. Sometimes, because that is a quintessential American food. I mean, Italian-Americans definitely, that Italian-American have their own regional foodway for sure. That's the East Coast. But it's pretty well represented.
Yeah.
So I don't deal in that. But
That
it's
makes
pretty
sense.
well represented. So.
Yeah, it definitely is well
Yeah.
represented.
But that also is another East Coast Italian foodway. But I don't do that because it's everywhere. So.
And so when you were putting the concept together for this restaurant, is it what you do? Things change along the way, like when you're planning to open a place and then you actually do. Like,
I mean, if I opened it when I was 30, you know, 14, 15 years ago or whatever, it would be a lot different. It would be
what would be
more
different?
tweezer chef style,
Yeah.
more, you know what I mean, more. But see, if you do that, if you do like, say, I'm just gonna do 100 miles or whatever circle around Elwood and go. I mean, if you do that, well, number one, you don't get sturgeon. Nobody grows. In fact, sturgeon. The story, you can't get sturgeon around here, right? It's endangered. Number one, even if you could, even if there's still one living, there are coming back slowly. But so that's from a farm, you know.
Okay.
But then you don't have that story of how sturgeons were eaten in this area for the colonists came for thousands and thousands of years. The Native Americans, you know, waited for the sturgeons to start running up the river. And that story of how they was a native foodstuff looked down upon by those English colonists, you know what I mean? That was a trash fish. That was for the natives.
Yeah.
We don't want that, you know? And then once the Eastern European immigrants came, and then that caviar, there was a caviar industry capital of the world was up the river here.
Wow.
In the 1800s. Depleted all the sturgeon.
Wow.
You know? So you don't have that story.
Yeah.
That this was, and actually a lot of the things that I do have that story. Turtles, for instance, they almost wiped out too. I mean, catfish, the population of catfish crap. I mean, it was such a huge thing. There was, restaurateurs would have ponds in their backyard just to raise catfish. But it was such a huge thing, the catfish population crashed. Sturgeon population crashed, almost went endangered. The shad, I mean, every single thing, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, the passenger pigeon is extinct now. And they used to tell stories of billions and billions covering the sky, you know? And guess what? Philadelphia was known for its squab cookery.
Yeah.
That was one of them. They shoot them and bring them into the restaurants in Philly. And they would serve them.
Crazy.
So you don't have those stories.
Yeah.
If it's just a farm. I mean, I do farm-to-table stuff, too.
Right.
I mean, when I first opened, I tried to have more stories behind everything, but the farm-to-table, I do the farm-to-table thing, too, especially in the summer. But you don't have those stories, like I said. And then the other reason is if you try to do that, not that I don't do little tweezer chef stuff from time to time, but if you do that, you don't have my great-grandmother's pot pie, you know?
Yeah.
Pennsylvania Dutch pot pie.
Yeah.
You don't have those type of things.
Yeah, I feel like in Philly, at least based on what I know, the story, the heritage of the food really is like Italian. Like, that's what you hear about. And you really just hear about it because there's restaurants that have been around for a long time. But like the stories
the Italian population is huge.
But you don't hear any of the things you're talking about.
Yeah,
really.
That's because it was from 200. I'm talking 200 years ago,
Yeah.
or 100 years ago. Like the Philadelphia was at one time known as. I mean, that was the city. You know, it was. If you see on menus a Philadelphia chicken because Philadelphia is known to have the best chickens, or it's squab cookery, or it's bullfrog cookery, or catfish and waffles.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
there was lots of things. I mean, there was the best French restaurants in the world in Philly. You know, when people say, "Oh, there's no French restaurants before," you know, George Perrier or something. I mean, there was the best French restaurants in the world 200 years ago in the 1800s. The best French chef. He just never wrote. I mean, he like edited like pastry journals and stuff, but he like never wrote like a big tome like Charles Reinhofer did at Delmonico's. So like nobody really knows about him. But,
Yeah.
But back then they'd have people coming in. shooting herons and all sorts of stuff and
crazy.
coming in and back in the day. It's cool, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad there should be those laws now. You can't do that.
Right.
Then there wouldn't be anything.
Anything.
You know.
I
I
appreciate you bringing these stories back. But if you're in France or you're in Italy or you're in Spain or a lot of other countries, those 200-year-old food stories they persist through to the current day. You know.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
Here, it just in the U.S. Maybe in the South it's different, or maybe in different regions.
Well, New Orleans, I think, has a definite food culture.
Yeah.
I think New Orleans, if you go to New Orleans, every restaurant, no matter what it is, a French brasserie has their gumbo.
Yeah.
Which I think is cool.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they have turtle soup everywhere. You know?
Yeah.
Which I think is different from. I think the difference between is there's that tomato and then like the trinity, you know, the celery, onion, peppers.
Yeah.
Which isn't in this.
Yeah.
But I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
If you go to New Orleans, everybody has their own gumbo. Everybody
Yeah.
has. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
In Philly, I mean, it could be. I mean, you can see little pockets of stuff around, but I mean, some of this stuff lost to history. You know, I think it's a shame because I think it's cool. And why does everything have to be the same?
Yeah.
You know.
So this family style sturgeon is so just so people who are listening, I'll post a picture. Like I said, there's a bunch of side dishes of mostly pickled stuff. Is Is that traditional? Is that how you would be served?
This in
your grandmother's house?
Pennsylvania style. Well, it's a little it's a little over what we would do, but it would be in this case it's if it was a meat, it would be a little different. But so it comes with mashed potatoes, your vegetables. In this case, sturgeon, and then for your sturgeon, you can have a little brown butter lemon sauce.
Got it.
Or just lemon. And then I have fermented carrots, pickled peppers and onions, pickled apples, sauerkraut because I love my sauerkraut. Just straight sauerkraut too.
Yeah. Interesting.
And then my chili sauce too.
Yeah. So what's the chili sauce all about? Just as a
That's my pickled chili sauce. It's
Yeah.
kind of like Tabasco, you know.
Yeah.
I make it here though.
yeah. This is amazing. Can I dig into this sturgeon?
Yeah, of course.
I want to try it.
So yeah, sturgeon's an awesome fish, and it is a meaty fish. It's kind of like swordfish, but I think it's better.
Yeah.
But like I said, it was once prized by the Native Americans of this region, and then it was prized too much by the Eastern Europeans and the people who wanted to eat it back home, you know. And then they came here, and there was tons of them.
So they're coming back via farming, or you can just that's the only way you can get them.
Well, caviar farms.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
but is that are people getting sturgeon in the? Are you unique in that you're looking for sturgeon to serve like this, or is that something that's? Thank you.
I mean, if you see it, I think it's. I mean, I'm not sure. I haven't really seen many people do it. I'm sure there are people like the old school French restaurants would, but I'm not sure who does it now. I'm sure there are some people though, or they wouldn't even get it at all.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Samuel, the big seafood company for me, but I think if you see it, it's mostly smoked. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like smoked, which is good too.
Yeah.
Or done that way. Yeah.
This is awesome. Thank you for making
Of
all
course.
this food. So when you have people come through here, I mean, what's the main what do you want people to leave here with?
Well, number one, I want them to leave with an appreciation of Pennsylvania Dutch food. Oh my God! You know what? I just thought of something. Well, appreciation of Pennsylvania Dutch food, right? Or Pennsylvania Dutch inspired, anyway. And then also about the history. There's lots that Philly was known for, and that there's more to it than a cheesesteak.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Or it used to be, anyway.
Yeah. Sturgeon's delicious.
It's a cool fish, right?
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
We can I'll do some light editing.
Yeah.
Just take some of this out. It's amazing.
Let me see if my girls pick this up. There's something else I'm gonna. Let me run over there real quick.
Okay.
Yeah, you're just editing. We're not live, right?
No, we're good.
Yeah. Hey, girls, you know what? Do a venison scrapple for me. And just bring it out. Okay. There's something else we're going to do. It's my Amuse. It used to be a surprise, but now it's the most pictured thing. But anyways, yeah.
Picture thing and like people take.
Pictures, yeah.
Yeah. So the vegetables here, just like, is that
That's
pretty
season. Yeah,
standard?
it changes seasonally.
Yeah.
Whatever's around. In this case, there's little radish, fennel, and asparagus. Or in the winter, it's the root, turnips, sweet potatoes, stuff like that. Yeah.
amazing? This is really
Yeah,
good.
when I used to go to my great grandmother, she always had it. So I grew up northeastern PA, like I said, and my Elwood is named after my grandfather. I guess I haven't mentioned that. And
No.
where he grew up was across the hollow from where I grew up,
Okay.
but on the farm. And they used to make scrapple on the farm. They used to they used to have chickens, cows, pigs. But every time I went over there, my great grandmother had this huge spread,
Mm-hmm.
some sort of like roast beef or something.
Mm-hmm.
But and also she had this room. I guess it was a laundry room, but it was like this table, like I don't know, 10 foot long or whatever, that just had 4 different pies, 4 different cakes,
Wow.
donuts, cookies,
And that's not like a holiday.
cream puffs.
That's just.
So she always had, and that's even less than because once I was like 10 years old, it was basically the farm was, is done. My great grandfather was like 90, and then my grandfather, he worked in a factory, so the farm was just there.
Yeah.
Basically, they still, did, corn or wheat or whatever every year, but it wasn't what it was,
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
not cooking for 20 cousins coming over to help
Yeah.
in the middle of harvest,
Right,
So,
right.
so yeah, that was just because she's on, you know what I mean? But she also had like these big tins of molasses cookies, sugar cookies. It was awesome.
With more than enough food.
Oh yeah, she had all sorts of pies, all sorts of cakes. She used to I do a shoe fly cake on my tea service, exactly like she did. Okay, so here's my Amuse.
Oh yeah, I have seen a picture of this.
So this is venison scrapple. This is how I start.
Oh
So
wow.
scrapple, which is another malign dish.
Yeah.
Another maligned
Very
Pennsylvania Dutch
maligned.
foodway.
Very maligned.
But what it is a butchering day potted meat. So when you were butchering hogs, which you would do, my family did it in like the day after Christmas or New Year's Day. So when you were butchering hogs, you would have this big kettle. You get your hams and your sausages and stuff, and then all the other stuff would go into that pot. And when it's done, you take it out, take the bones out, chop it all up, and then mix cornmeal and buckwheat in, and then put it in your little pans and put it in the spring house, and that's what you would eat over the winter.
Wow. So what's this? So this is a piece of
This is venison scrapple.
venison scrapple and with a.
That's a little pepper sauce.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever. I've definitely never had venison scrapple. But I guess that's part of the point.
Well, the reason I do venison scrapple, it's not just because I'm trying to be exotic. It's because scrapple nowadays, mostly you're just going to buy it, right? You're just going to, and very few people make it anymore. But where you really see it is in deer season. Back home, we always did our own, butchered our own stuff. But if you take your deer to a processor, some of that they'll do like the bologna, but they'll also do scrapple, venison scrapple with it.
Wow.
So that's where that comes from. Nobody understands that, but
Yeah.
that's where that comes from.
It's really good, and it's it's crispy. It's pretty flavorful, but it's not super gamey either.
Oh no. Yeah.
No, it's really delicious.
Well, scrapple it like we said, it has a bad rap, I guess, because there's a lot of weird things about it. But
Well,
it's just a way to utilize. I mean, it was really a way to get you through the winter. I mean,
Yeah.
It's another way to give you, get you through the winter.
Well, this is amazing. Thank you for all this food.
Of
My
course.
my only remaining question, just like being in the Philly food scene and being part of this food scene. I mean, I've met so many great chefs from Philly who are all doing very different, interesting things. What's exciting to you about what's happening in the Philly food world?
Well, I think in general you can do a restaurant like that, or you can do something small. Like you can't open this up in Chicago. I mean, you can't open a 24-seat restaurant. Even now it's getting harder and harder. But I mean, and the BYOB scene. I mean, it's annoying. I mean, I wish I had. I mean, it's elite. I don't want to buy one, of course. It's like $200,000. But I wish I could serve like Pennsylvania wine, beer, or stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like I don't want a bar.
Yeah.
But there are, there's a clientele who love BYOBs because they got a wine cell full of wine.
Yeah.
And they don't want to pay 9 times the price or whatever when they go out to eat.
Yeah.
They want to bring their wine and I think that's really cool because I don't know what you do. I mean, I guess in New York, you just drink it at home, your own wines. But I mean, I think that's cool.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and gives more flexibility, I guess. If you want to start something, you can do that without.
Yeah, I think that's cool. You have a bottle of wine that you bought when your daughter was born, and you take it to a BYOB specifically for that.
Yeah.
I think that's cool.
Yeah. Well, so people listening, when you're in Philly, check out Elwood. There's also art all over the walls. That's really.
It
cool
all has
and
a Pennsylvania theme.
Yeah, it seems very thematic.
That's Wissahickon Blossom. So the Wissahickons over there by Paramount, by Wallace Nutty. He actually wrote a book called Pennsylvania the Beautiful.
Okay.
And some of them on the Sawkill. So they all have some sort of. There's one over there. It's a famous painting, not the famous painting. There are ones in the museum over there, but that's shad fishing on Gloucester. Shad is one of the other fish of this region.
Yeah.
So yeah, they mostly all have something to do with. Technically, that's from New England, but we don't need to tell anybody.
Yeah.
That still looks like it could be in the
it could be
middle of Pennsylvania somewhere.
Yeah, and the listeners won't know where we're pointing.
Yeah.
Well, Adam, thank you so much. This is amazing, and people in Philly, when you're here, check out Elwood in Fishtown. It's really awesome. Great food.
Thank you so much for having me on, and thanks for coming down. You can find me at 1007 Frankfurt Avenue in Fishtown, Philadelphia, or check out the website, elwoodrestaurant.com.
Yeah, and we'll put some info in the show notes also. Thank you guys for listening. We'll be back tomorrow.
Hey, it's Francis Lamb, host of The Splendid Table. Every week on our show, we talk about food and cooking and the meanings of food and cooking. We talk with the most interesting people in food about their techniques, their culture, and everything in between. Whether it's about how fried chicken took over the world or how Instagram changes the way people are actually eating. It's a food show where everyone is welcome. Come join us. You can listen to The Splendid Table wherever you get your podcasts.